Hey everybody, this is Adam Elkassas. I'm the founder of pre.dev, co-host of the Artificial Intelli-gents Podcast, and we're here with episode 2. I have 2 exciting builders in the AI space as guests today. So I would like to introduce Muhammad Asmal. He's an AI business growth strategist, the founder of Asmal Digital and AI lead builder, and a speaker and consultant. I would also like to introduce Tad Duval. Tad is an AI automations builder. He runs marketing masterclasses in the Miami area, as well as the CEO of Command Labs. Hey guys, how are you today? And could you guys introduce yourself? Give yourselves a better intro than I did.
Excellent. No, thanks for having us. The intro was amazing, but I'll give Ted the opportunity to do his intro first.
Yeah. So I've been living in Miami for 32 years and I'm 35 now. I started my journey in tech about 14 years ago. I started teaching myself programming, and I started programming in the middle of my university experience. And it's been a long journey since then. I first got hired by a company based out of Israel that sold calling cards in the Miami market. That was a pretty popular thing back in the 2000s. But by the time I joined that company, calling cards were being replaced by apps like Viber and WhatsApp. Anyways, I worked there for a little less than a year. After that, my next stable job, I had a number of jobs in between that. Played in bands. I also worked for like a real estate company for a very short while, developing an in-house PHP application. After that, I worked for Norwegian Cruise Lines. I got fired from Norwegian Cruise Lines from being just a jackass, but I did a lot of PHP development while I was there, Java development, Scala, did a little bit of Drupal CMS development. And after that is when I started my startup journey. And I built an iOS mobile app after I got fired from Norwegian Cruise Line. I also built a Ruby on Rails application for connecting people looking for financial advice. And after that, I got a contract from a neighbor of mine to build an MVP. And that's kind of where my alignment with pre.dev starts. So that's when I got involved with building stuff from scratch, which is what the pre.dev platform is specialized in doing for founders. And I'm particularly aligned with pre.dev on the other side of things because I have a software agency, and pre.dev's software suite serves both founders as well as dev agency owners. They have a lot of tools that are available for speeding up the quoting and scoping process when you're trying to get new clients for your dev agency. So I'm super excited to dive deeper on whatever topic we're going to discover in this podcast. And as far as my background with Muhammad, we met originally 2 years ago at a Miami meetup called GP Tuesday. And I met him through a character called Micah Berkeley, who's a genius. I would love to find out where Micah is. We're all wondering where you are, Micah. That's an inside joke for people who know Micah. I wonder where he is. I heard he's in maybe San Francisco now. But anyways, he was living in Miami for many years, brilliant guy. He introduced me to Muhammad 2 years ago, and I've been doing these AI trainings and masterclasses in the Miami area as lead gen for my software agency business. And I've also been doing it to put fire under my butt to teach myself the latest and greatest things in the AI world. And Muhammad's been fantastic as far as guiding me and giving me tips on tools or different companies or approaches that I should suggest to the attendees of these masterclasses so that they get maximal value. So I don't know if that's exactly what you asked me, Adam. I kind of probably rambled, but that's a long introduction. I could tell. I talk way too much.
Tad likes to ramble sometimes.
I want to do way too much, man. Go take it.
No, that's great. Let's hear from Muhammad a little bit about your background.
Firstly, straight off the bat, I want to let you guys know I'm not a techie guy, like in terms of coding and stuff like that. That's you guys' field. I'm more a marketer. I'm actually from South Africa, born and brought up in South Africa. And I've been in digital marketing since 2013, but I was doing that as a side hustle. So I had a day job and I started doing digital marketing on the side. So that was the weekends and at night. Because I was doing it as a side hustle, I was always exploring tools and ways that I could become more productive and get more stuff done. So in 2018, I started started playing around with some AI tools, which were pretty useless if I think about it now. But the reason I started playing around with them was because I was trying to get more stuff done. Because remember, my digital marketing agency, it was still a side hustle. Then only in March of 2022, I went full time into my digital marketing agency because I couldn't cope with both. And then when ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022, that was like end of November 2022, I tried it out and I fell in love with it. I was amazed how powerful it was, and it was free. And now I was using these other AI tools, like, from 2018. Firstly, they were expensive and they were nothing compared to ChatGPT. So I was so excited. I thought I need to tell the whole of South Africa about this, man. So I got so excited. I started making TikTok and Instagram videos about how to use ChatGPT and AI tools in general. But little did I know that no one in South Africa would see my videos, but people from all around the world started seeing my videos. So I was getting requests now, do you do AI coaching? Do you do consulting? And I didn't do that. But naturally I said, yes, yeah, I do that. And I started doing AI coaching and consulting. And then pretty soon I was addressing marketing teams. I was addressing CEOs. I was training teams about how to use ChatGPT and other AI tools, like no-code tools. And I even had a billionaire ask me for advice on AI. So it was crazy. And then all of a sudden I get one guy asked me, do you want to come and speak at my event in Miami? I've never spoken in front of people before in my life. And all this was, just going really fast. So I said, hey, I was still a bit skeptical now. Is this guy legit? I did some homework on him. He looked okay, but I still didn't take it as seriously. So I said, okay. So he said, send me your passport. Because I'm telling him I need a visa. I don't have a visa to come to America. So he said, don't worry. I'll write a letter to the embassy. And so I'm telling him, but it was just a few weeks away before the event. And usually in South Africa, it takes months to get a visa to come to the US. Firstly, you have to get an appointment for an interview at the US embassy. Then they interview you, and then they still decide whether to give you a visa or not. So luckily, we made some plans. I managed to get, first I told him I want to bring my wife as well, because he was going to pay for me. Because I was a little bit skeptical. So he says, no, it's only for you. And I left it, but not thinking much of it. So he came back after a few days. He said, okay, send me your wife's passport as well. We'll pay for her as well. So I said, okay, now it's getting a bit serious. I said, sent our passports. We went to the embassy. Because of his letter, we submitted everything, but they knew everything already. They gave both of us 10-year visas. Went to Miami, got in an event. The first event I spoke at was in Orlando. He didn't tell me about this. I went to Orlando. I'm speaking in a mastermind where everyone paid $25,000 to be there. I've never spoken in front of people in my life. I'm addressing them. Luckily, he just told me about how much they paid and stuff like that a few minutes before. So he just added a bit more pressure. But luckily, it went well. Then after a few weeks, there was an event in Miami, which was the event I knew about. There was a few hundred people, and altogether online, about 900 people, I think. I spoke at that event. It went well. He invited me to come back after a few months. Then after that, I came back again to speak another event. And this time, this is actually my fourth time in the US. Have you heard of John Asraf by any chance, Adam?
I haven't. I don't think so.
Okay, you can Google him. He's a big guy in neuromarketing, neuroscience. So he invited me this time to speak at his mastermind. And now when I get there, I see, okay, first of all, it's John Asraf. He's one of the biggest guys in neuromarketing. And I'm now speaking at his mastermind, addressing his people. So even the first time when I came, I was speaking with Terrence McMahon. I don't know if you heard of him, and Ted McGrath. I spoke on stages with them. Now this time I was speaking with John Asraf and Roland Frazier. I don't know if you heard of him. And I'm speaking at the mastermind, and there's only like successful people, like, businesses doing millions, 10 to 100 million dollars. And I'm addressing them about AI. And I'm still thinking, hey, what am I going to tell these guys? They're so much more successful than me. But they were still amazed that, what I was telling them. And then It went well, luckily. And then now I'm here in Miami. I was speaking with Ted at the event, came to see a few clients because I now have clients in Miami. And on Saturday, I'm leaving for Dallas. I'm going to be speaking at another mastermind in Dallas on the 10th of May. Guy's called Akbar Sheikh. He's also a big guy in Go High Level and ClickFunnels. So that's my journey. And it all started just from me putting out content on social media from a small town in Africa. Now I get to work with people around the world. I get to travel the world just because of AI. Amazing.
How do you feel after doing, now many talks at these masterminds? What do you feel like you've curbed to be the main message to get across to your audiences about AI?
The main message I would say is, we think that because we're in AI all the time, we're watching content all the time, we're thinking that everybody else is the same. And another thing is, when we do stuff like often, like something like become second nature, we forget the value of it because it takes us so quick to do it. But the same thing, when we explain it to somebody else, they're like amazed because they never heard of it. But we forget the value of ourselves, honestly, because we do stuff day in and day out. So that's what I picked up. And every time on all my trips, I picked that up as well. But one thing I want to mention that I picked up from successful people that I've met while speaking at the events, most of them don't know much about AI and stuff like that. But why they are so successful is they implement. And success and money love speed. And I've noticed one thing with all of these people. They're really quick to implement. So I might tell them something, within a day or something, they're already implementing it. And they're taking action. Even if it's not them doing it themselves, but they've got a team that are implementing. Whereas, you'll speak to a normal person day to day, you'll tell them something, it's really valuable. The same thing I'm telling these people, but they won't take action. And then you see on the other side, people that are taking action and they can see the benefit immediately. Like I was just working with one client now, a coaching client, that I charged, some private coaching fees. And she came back to me now and she's saying like
20K,
in 10 days.
20K.
Right. So 20K. And she came back to me and she says like in 10 days, she's made her money back. But why did she make her money back? She took action. Whereas the same thing, I could have said it to somebody else and they wouldn't take action and they wouldn't see the results. But the difference between her and the other people is just that she took action and she saw the results immediately.
Just the adoption of AI, when you're working with AI and diving deep every single day, you think that everybody else is using ChatGPT for everything, but they're not yet, so
Yes.
that's definitely an interesting perspective. What do you, what synergies do you see, between, say, coming to Miami and in South Africa? Have you seen the AI scene in South Africa blossom a little bit with, your influence and, spreading the word?
Yeah, it's growing in South Africa. Initially, it took a longer time to get adopted. But one crazy thing that still amazes me is, if you think about it now, ChatGPT came out end of 2022. So the first time I came to Miami was, I think, in June 2023. Now we're almost in June of 2025, but people in America are still calling me. So that I'm coming from South Africa, and I was thinking, okay, it might be a phase, and the wave will die down. But the great thing for me and for us is because AI is changing so rapidly, they have to call me back to update them. So it's like my advantage. So as long as you and that's the thing, we have to keep up to date. And in South Africa, I'm seeing that much more now, where more and more people and companies are adopting it and they're seeing the benefits of it. And throughout the world, it's not like a South African thing where the masses don't know about AI. Because we might think that the masses know, but they don't, honestly. They are picking it up much more. And this is true even in the States, because I still speak to some businesses that tell me they just played around with ChatGPT and that's it. Like when they talk about AI, that's what they think about. So it's crazy that even in America, till now, there are still some businesses and individuals that haven't even played around with AI properly. So it's basically what is done is it's created like a level playing field for us in Africa, because we can start adopting it. And now with the power of social media, we can tell our story to the world or teach people, and we can reach a global audience.
For someone who maybe hasn't played around with AI that much, but is interested in getting their hands dirty, where do you recommend they start?
I would still say ChatGPT, just because everybody, when you mention AI, the first thought that comes to mind is ChatGPT. So it'll be the easiest to adopt and the easiest to understand. But the crazy part about this also is I train a lot of teams, and a lot of teams even have the ChatGPT Plus version. Like, so they're paying the $20 a month, but still they're not using half of the features that they're paying for. I think they're just paying for it just to say, okay, they staying up to date with AI, but they're not actually using the tools that they have. So anyone can just start off with ChatGPT. And what I would suggest, especially if you're just starting off, if you can just learn one feature of ChatGPT every day or every week and make a video about that, because that's what I was doing. That's how I was learning. I was creating a video. Like for 6 months, I created a video every single day. That's how people started seeing me. And what I was doing, I was just seeing a feature. This is a feature I could use in my business, because I was doing it in my own business and for my clients, for my marketing agency. And I was making a video about it. And in those videos, I don't think, it's still up to now, I don't think I mentioned my name once. So it was never about me. It was always about the audience. I only spoke about how this can be beneficial to someone in their business. And that's another thing that I see lots of people make mistake. Like, when they're creating content, they make it too much about themselves, whereas the audience doesn't care about who we are. They want to know what benefits them. We're all selfish, unfortunately. We all want to know what's in it for us first. So if anyone can just learn at least one feature of ChatGPT per week and make content about it. If you don't like to be on video, make an article, make a blog post on LinkedIn, post on Twitter, something. It's a great way to learn and also get your name out there.
Within sales and marketing, let's say other than ChatGPT, what is your go-to tool or tool that you work with most on a daily basis that's central to your workflows?
Obviously, ChatGPT, but you mentioned we're excluding ChatGPT. I would say Claude. In fact, a few months ago, I was using it much more than ChatGPT. But just now with the recent updates, I'm using it less than before. But also Google Gemini. The new updates are amazing. The Canvas feature, where you can build things and have a preview right there in your browser, similar to what Claude had, or Claude still has. But then they have the feature of exporting whatever you're creating into a Google Doc from there, because it's made by Google, so it makes it easier. But then also a Notebook LM. Have you used that?
Yeah. No, it's
I love it. I love it. So what I do, for example, I'll give you a quick example. Say I want to create a lead magnet, right, for my business. So I'll generate something, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever it is. I'll generate it in there. I can then, maybe say it's a blog post, for example, or even a guide. Say it's a guide. I write out a guide to help businesses ways to market their business, right? I can then take that copy that I generated in one of these tools, ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, upload it to Notebook LM, create a podcast from it, download the podcast, then create the study guide from there, take it into Gamma, that's gamma.app. It will take my content and make it visually appealing, that I can create a PDF download from there that I can either sell as a low ticket item or give away for free as a lead magnet. And then I've got a professional sounding podcast to go with it as well. People think that it takes weeks or months to create, but it actually just took me a few minutes. Under an hour, I can get all of that done quickly. So that's tools that I use on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like essentially the suite of AI tools that are available today allow one person to do the work of many. Like you just described a process that maybe a whole media team would have to run, and you did it in a couple minutes. That gives, you said leveling the playing field. Like in South Africa versus Miami, the difference doesn't matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And another thing I just want to touch on as well, we also mustn't be restricted by just using one AI tool. Like ChatGPT is great, and I would suggest you start off there with starting off there. But once you become familiar with it, once you can combine multiple AI tools together, that's when you can see the true potential. Because I can still go further and say connect it to HeyGen and create an AI avatar video. But the three things I would say that you need to master if you want to become great at AI. And it's really simple, these three things. And the great thing is you don't need to have a qualification for this. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be a marketer. You don't need to be any of that stuff. All you need to do is, number one, you need to learn how to communicate with the AI. That means you need to understand how to speak to it to get what you want. And it's all about communication. So my communication style may be different from yours. So just copying and pasting prompts in that is good at the beginning, but it's actually going to be a disservice to you in the long run if you're going to continue doing that, because you're not going to understand your way of communicating with the AI. Because once you understand that, then you can get the AI to do anything that you want, and you are in total control of the AI. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is you need good judgment. So what do I mean by good judgment? By good judgment, I mean when ChatGPT or whatever tool gives you something, an output in return, you still need good judgment to understand whether that is good or not. Because you could just take something and then post it, put it on Gamma, put it wherever, but it might not be correct info. So that's where good judgment comes in. And the third one is you need to stay away from shiny object syndrome. So what do I mean by that? There's tons of tools out there. Like I think thousands of tools coming out every month. It's impossible to keep up with each and every tool. And everybody on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube hypes all of them up and only shows the good side of them. And what tends to happen is you'll find someone just learned AI. They start with ChatGPT now. They start watching some videos. Then they see this tool. Then tomorrow they see another tool. Then they see another tool. And what ends up happening, they're just chasing every tool and they're not mastering anything. So you need to stay away from shiny object syndrome. Master the tools that you currently have and that you're currently using. Then only once you're done with that, then you can go on to the next one. So staying away from shiny object syndrome, that's the third point. So if you just stick to these three things, simple things, learn to communicate with the AI, have great judgment, and stay away from shiny object syndrome, I think anyone can become a master at AI.
I agree. And I think based on what you said, you need to be able to effectively audit these AIs. So that doesn't mean that just because we have AI, you could stop your lifelong learning in any specific domain. You have to still become an expert in a certain domain to be able to effectively audit the AI system in the first place. So, I definitely agree with that. Let's get Tad. Let's shoot a question at Tad. So what's your go-to AI tool? Your favorite one, the one you use most often?
Man, well, we're definitely, so for context, one of the main initiatives that I have been working closely with pre.dev on, as well as Muhammad. This is a natural collaboration as far as how this all arose. But I am doing social media marketing to put pre.dev's product out there, help with discovery. So the tools that I've been using primarily to help with that has actually been a big tool that I've been using, which I actually discovered through working with pre.dev, is a tool called Metricool. It's not directly an AI tool, but we're working on some things behind the scenes to kind of put some agents as far as interfacing with it. We should have some exciting stuff coming soon regarding that initiative. But on the content creation side, definitely ChatGPT has been super big. And another thing too, which is another side of the OpenAI or ChatGPT offering, is actually the OpenAI API, which is something which I've experienced with Muhammad, right? A lot of people have never even heard about this, right? Such a low-hanging fruit for us who are kind of from the development background. But long story short is OpenAI allows you to pretty much build custom applications on top of their AIs, and they do that through the OpenAI API. So for example, I am doing some tooling now for pretty much scaling up the volume of posting that we can do with pre.dev. I built a tool that interfaces another tool called N8N, which is a low-code automation platform. And I have that tool plugged into the OpenAI API. That's where all of the social media content gets generated. And then I feed that into a spreadsheet application, which is very similar to Google Sheets. I'm using a platform called Airtable. So I'm probably not the clearest person to ask this question because I use so many freaking tools. I'm also using HeyGen quite a bit for the work that we're doing with pre.dev. So I'm trying to get Adam to clone himself. I think that would be an exciting thing. Also, Adam's co-founder, Arjun, the CEO and CTO respectively of pre.dev. So I think it would be exciting to get them more on camera. But as you can tell, Arjun's not here. He's busy coding. So if we could put him, I don't know if this is necessarily what the MO is, but maybe Adam getting his face out there a little bit more might help, or maybe some of the other salesmen who are part of the pre.dev team, we could get them more out there. That might be something that might be exciting, but we have to test all this stuff out. We've been using the pre-built or the inbuilt avatars that come with HeyGen. But the idea behind this is if you have a face on your social media content, it tends to perform a little bit better than just having this abstract content. So I'm kind of rambling. I feel like I'm not connecting directly with my message right now, but like long story short is I use many tools in the context of the work that I'm doing with pre.dev. It's primarily this tool called N8N. I use another tool called Make. I use OpenAI / ChatGPT, but I don't use it through the ChatGPT interface. I use the OpenAI API, which is available at platform.openai.com. And then as far as all the content that gets spit out by the AI that I'm using that's provided by OpenAI, I'm storing all of that content into a spreadsheet. And at this point, I'm using Airtable. You can also use Google Sheets, but I use Airtable. And then once we have all the content generated, we're posting it with this tool called Metricool, which is a tool that was already being used by the pre.dev team. Amazing tool. And I'll leave it there as far as like the core workflow that we're doing with pre.dev. And the other aspect, I guess the only AI tool that comes to my mind is so far we've been using AI avatars. And the use of this is to put a face on the social media content that we're pushing out there. And we'd love to get Adam's face in there. I mean, I don't know how he feels about that, or Arjun's face, the CTO, or some of the other team members, but one step at a time. So far, we've just been using the pre-built avatars that come with the HeyGen platform. So here I am going on a ramble again, but yeah, I'll stop right there. I'll stop right there.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with the avatar. I just haven't got to it yet. But I think basically that was a trick question because the moral of the story is it doesn't seem like anybody uses a single tool. It's an array of tools that have to work in conjunction based on what you need to do. There's no just magic solution with AI that's just going to plug everything out except pre.dev. No, I'm just kidding.
What about you? What about you, Adam? I'd be interested to know because it seems to me like, let me know
For me, it's like a lot of different models, like you guys were saying, depending on the use case, whether it's a thinking, reasoning model for more difficult questions, deep research, whether it's Gemini Flash for super fast model. There's trade-offs between the models in terms of tools. Because I code so much, just Cursor. Cursor is a central tool, but I use different models within Cursor itself. And then ChatGPT, Perplexity maybe. But I would say, yeah, Cursor probably 80% and plugging them, but then, they're great.
What are the models within Cursor that you use the most, and what are the different models that you find better at different use cases? This is all within the realm of coding, as I understand it.
Yeah,
it doesn't overlap too much with the world, but it's interesting to hear that.
Yeah. It's getting a little technical, but on the coding side, there's different things you could do in Cursor. Like for instance, if you're trying to make inline edits, like think of it as editing a Google Doc inline, you can do something called Command K, which is just a shortcut where you can prompt the document right in the middle of your code. And for that, I'll choose like a faster model, like maybe Gemini or something like that. But to be honest with you, I use Claude, I use Claude pretty much for my coding period. So I'll just use like Claude 3.7, which is their standard one for the inline edits. And then I'll use like Claude Thinking Pro for when I'm using the agent mode to try to make the agent, not go nuts. But I found that personally, Claude is the best by far at coding. Gemini 2.5 Pro Max is pretty good as well. So I think, it's interesting. All the model providers are making progress right now.
So as far as like product education, because pre-dev, I'm still learning more about the product. There's so many features as far as like the ones that stand out to me that I've actually used. Because once again, I have a dev agency myself, and I found some of the product offerings from pre-dev to be pretty exciting. One of the most powerful ones that I've seen is the proposal generation. So for the context on my side, right? If I have a lead or somebody who's interested in working on me on something, because of my background, I'm quite technical. It's usually software related or technical related stuff. I'm getting more into, doing some other stuff. That's kind of the bridge between how I connect with Muhammad and Adam, right? I'm starting to get more inside of the marketing side of things, starting to get more inside of the sales lead gen side of the equation. But let's say somebody's interested in working with me and they, a classic thing that you'll hear is like, send me a proposal. Pre.dev has a built-in system that will generate an amazing proposal for you in 30 seconds to a minute. Instead of me having to go there and sit down and do it, um, spits it out right away, shoot it off, and keep the conversation going. Because as we know, it's like sales takes a little bit, to get to the finish line. But I think that's one of the most exciting features for me. And then I've been learning more about what's deeper down funnel, I guess you could say, on the pre-dev product suite. But they also have a feature which I think is really cool. Is this is probably when you get more into a more technical project. But there's a very popular tool. This is probably going to be more geared towards somebody who would be a project manager, but pre.dev has a feature where you take the requirements of your IT project and it will map out all of the tickets, all of the tasks, all of the, stories, to use agile development lingo for you. And it's compatible with Jira, which is one of the most popular project managing tools out there, as well as Linear. So I'm still learning more, but I mean, I try to remember. So on the cursor side, I guess my question to you is to tie it back to what we were talking about before. What are the AI tools you're using to develop the pre.dev product? I mean, I'm guessing cursor is a big component of that, but what are like the essential workflows to building out the product itself?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things there. I mean, like right now it's Cursor, but when we started, it was just a normal text editor without AI. Maybe I would copy paste stuff into ChatGPT 3 at the time. But to basically answer like where's the roadmap of pre.dev going and what is it exactly? What is our strength? And you outlined like the process of consulting where you have to give someone a scope of work ahead of time. So you have to somehow forecast the task items of whatever you're going to do, whether it's a marketing campaign, whether it's a software project, and you have to map that out. And based on how well you map that out, that determines how well the project goes downstream. Because if you stray from that scope, you can always refer back to the scope. If the client somewhere down the line is like, is this done? Is this finished? You can refer back to the scope. So similarly, how in the human case, you're creating the scope of work as a consultant of any kind, which is basically a list of tasks. There might be some type of hierarchy in software. It's like epic, stories, subtasks in like Jira linear terms, right? That's what would be called the roadmap. So on pre.dev, it generates that essentially. The way it gets there, that's the complex part, right? That's like the secret sauce, but I mean, I can get it more into it. It's not super secret. It's just, it's involved, but the end product is that scope of work. That's a clear step by step what needs to be done. And then that you could sync with Jira Linear. So then it's like in your task management system that you can mark off the tasks. And whenever you mark off all the tasks, theoretically the project should be done. And that's in the human case. So in the future, when you're talking about AI agents, if you try to run Cursor Agent, you'll realize that it strays off path really fast. That's why I say like pre.dev is kind of like Google Maps for coding agents, if you look at it that way, because you can give a really in-depth spec that pre.dev generates, which might be like 18 pages long of tasks. It would take a human forever to write that, and it wouldn't be as detailed. You give that to the agent, and now Cursor Agent has something to follow step by step, and it can mark off each task. You're keeping your agent on the right path versus like if it would be like analogous to if you're going, I'm in Miami right now. I'm going to try to like walk to Fort Lauderdale or something. I might get lost somewhere down the line if I'm freestyling that completely walking in a forest. But if I have Google Maps, I enter it in, it tells me, okay, turn right here, turn left there, go 5 miles that way.
Got it. That makes
So
a lot
that's
of
essentially
sense.
what pre.dev does at the core, is gives you that
Nice.
clear roadmap. Given a simple idea, explained in simple terms, gives you that roadmap in like 30 seconds. The way it does that is it builds the architecture through a graph theory approach, essentially. So it probes the customer for information on their product in non-technical terms. So it could just be like customer journey, essentially. And from the customer journey, it maps to actual software architecture, like front end, back end, database, systems, etc. And then takes all that information in and then outputs that step-by-step task list.
Do you have any of those concepts in the marketing world, Muhammad, or like for what do you do, like project management, if you're doing a bigger campaign for a client? I'm just wondering if there's any overlap here, because it's hard to serve two different profiles, right? You come from the marketing business world, Muhammad, and then Adam and myself are obviously very deep on the technical weeds, right? But I'm wondering if there's like that analogy of where you have a high level roadmap or a high level kind of uh, guideline, right? Or like series of things you want the AI generally to do. And then instead of the AI kind of getting, the AI can kind of go off in its different paths, right? It gets to stray, hallucinate, right? You can have that kind of overarching plan for the AI to refer back to, so it stays more on track with what generally you're trying to do. I don't know if you understand, like that is what I'm picking up on what Adam is saying as far as the sauce behind pre.dev. But is there anything like that in the marketing world where you will, project roadmap out a whole campaign for over the course of the year, or is it very much day to day, Muhammad, as far as how you work?
There is a roadmap, definitely, because every successful project needs that. I
Yeah.
think you're wasting your time if you don't do it that way. You have to have a roadmap. There's no AI tool that I'm currently using that does that. We basically using like Lucid Chart and Canva whiteboards to build out the roadmaps, but there's no AI involved in that.
Pre.dev.
Like,
No,
so that's great.
we've you can like use our tool to scope. Like in the past, we had this ability to just start from scratch and you could scope out anything like SOPs or sales pipelines or whatever. But we're a small startup. We want to do one thing and focus on one thing right now. But yeah, in the future, definitely like any type of, could be wedding planning, right? Think like you need to plan a wedding, right? You need to figure out how many napkins do I get? When is these events? How do I coordinate the DJ and this and that? If you don't plan that stuff out and you freestyle the wedding is gonna, you know, be a mess basically.
Optimal. Yeah.
That's like the whole pre-dev thing is like before you dev, you pre-dev, and the idea is if you plan before you start writing code, then you're not wasting any money, or in the coding agent lingo, tokens, just going on that random walk. You have at least a ballpark estimate of where you're going.
Yeah. I have one other curiosity question to tie it back, and I'll hand it off to you, Adam. I was wondering, what are the leading AI companies in Africa or / South Africa? Because obviously we live here in the States. San Francisco is a big market. I mean, we hear about the big companies probably worldwide, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, right? The Googles. Obviously there's smaller startups. We're here in Miami, so we hear about companies. I mean, there's obviously pre.dev. Another big company that raised is Cast AI. They do a kind of Kubernetes optimization system. They've been in business for a while. And there's a couple other AI companies here. We hear of, some other popular tools, HeyGen, for example, and like some of the smaller names. But I'm saying I'm not too familiar with what are the leading companies in South Africa or Africa. Are there any that are making big waves that you see, Mohammed, or you don't see any of
honestly, there's nothing that I know of at the moment. But as I mentioned, adoption is becoming much more rapid now in South Africa. So I'm pretty sure there's lots of them startups that have just started up, and hopefully one of them will become a big name pretty soon. But currently, I don't know of any personally.
I was actually in Egypt for about a month and a half in December. So I was in Africa technically, and I do see a lot of young talent building, even in social media. Like one of my cousins was working for a digital marketing agency doing like TikTok videos, and for certain brands, like she showed me one from like a dishwashing company that was super sick. So there's a lot of talent out there. Obviously, depending on the circumstances of the country, like for instance, Egypt, there's not too much opportunity, and they're going through like some political turmoil. But you know, it's good to see that, as you said, in South Africa, that AI is leveling the playing field, and especially the internet, because they know what's going on over there, and they're like, I even met a kid who was working on Go high level automations and stuff like that in Egypt, but he had to like go through this makeshift system of like, you know, getting current like paid in like Slovenia and then like shipping it to Egypt because he couldn't get paid in pounds and all this crazy stuff. So
crazy stuff. I can share something. Like, you know, when I started initially, like, pushing out content, that was like in the end of 2022 and 2023, we had something that's called load shedding in South Africa. Now, what's load shedding? It just means blackouts daily. So every single day for at least 2 to 6, sometimes 12 hours, we don't have power. Right? Luckily, for the last 6-8 months now, we haven't had it, right? Hopefully it stays like that. But what I'm trying to say is that I managed to grow my business. I managed to still push out content, even in those situations. So just as you saying, people in Egypt, people are doing stuff out there throughout the world, you know, because as I said, it's a level playing field now. No matter where you can be in the world, if you just put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. Have any of you heard of Chatbase?
Yeah.
So
have you heard? You do know the story about Chatbase?
Actually, hold on. No. I've heard
so.
No funding.
Okay.
No funding. The founder's name is Yasser.
Bootstrapped, right? That
yes,
was
bootstrapped, and now they, I think, 10 million ARR. 5 or 10 million now at the moment. Bootstraps. The founder's name is Yasser El-Sayed. He's young as well. And he just started this thing, and I started it around when ChatGPT came out. And it's good to follow his story also, because this is bootstrap, and now it's become a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah, I think it's easier than ever to bootstrap, and it also gives entrepreneurs a lot more power, and you can prove your concept before you get funding. I mean, a lot of people, you know, they want to build a great pitch deck and then, you know, raise big rounds, but that's not necessarily what builds longevity, especially when you said there's so many throwaway AI tools that come up every single day, that if you want to build something long lasting and real, you have to be talking to customers and in the field. And sometimes you raise a big round and then you forget about the customer. You forget because you as the founder aren't even getting that FaceTime, with them.
Another good example is Midjourney. They were bootstrapped. And what's their valuation at the moment? I know they were.
Oh yeah, Midjourney, you said?
Yeah, Midjourney, the image generation.
Like 200 million ARR.
Yeah, and they bootstrapped as well. No funding.
Yeah.
But Chatbase is from what country? Where are the founders of Chatbase are from Africa, or?
It's one guy, young guy, Yasser El-Sayed. I'm not too sure whether he's from Egypt, or I'm not too sure whether he's in Canada at the moment. But his origin, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere North Africa, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely inspirational for startups and founders. And I mean, that's what pre.dev does. It enables founders to build something, especially even if you don't have that coding experience. As long as you can describe your idea in 1 or 2 sentences, you can at least get direction and get started. Whereas in the past, you try to Google, how do I build an app? And then you go on a crazy long journey trying to make that happen. You get scammed on Upwork, followed by you find a dev agency in India, you get scammed. And then all of a sudden you don't have any more money to build your MVP and you quit and get a job. But nowadays, I think AI is making that barrier a lot less.
And another thing I would say is, I just searched for it on Perplexity. Yasser El-Sayed is originally from Egypt, but moved to Canada in 2019. But another thing I would like to
shout out to Yasser. We need to get you on the pod, man. Come on.
Well, you're half Egyptian, right? You're half Egyptian, Adam. Right?
Yeah, I'm half Egyptian.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that's another connection.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, I get tons of comments and emails and messages all the time. How can I make money with AI? How can I make money with AI? That's the most common thing. And the truth is, you can't make money with AI. You're not going to use ChatGPT and money is going to start pouring out from ChatGPT, which is what people think. The fundamentals of business is still the same. You need to find a problem that needs solving and then figure out how you can leverage AI to solve that problem better and faster.
Yeah. You got
So
to
that,
get a lead and a meeting scheduled. And that's what you need at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, figure out a problem to solve. And that's the mindset shift people need to make, that not think that AI, you're just going to start using AI and then money is going to start flowing, which is what people think. It's not,
no.
it's not true.
No, Arjun and I put 17-hour days in for the last 2 years in pre.dev, and we haven't really made a penny. So, it's like that's the reality of it. If you're trying to build a company, it's if you're looking to make money, you're never going to succeed. You got to solve a problem, solve a pain point, and do it better than anyone else, 10 times better. Then you might have a chance of getting in front of someone to make the money. Like, then you have to sell it.
And
So
it comes down to back to the same thing. You know how you mentioned there's not one magical AI tool.
yeah.
Same thing. It's just not one magical thing. Okay, I'm going to start using AI and money is just going to start coming from the sky or something.
Yeah. It reminds me of iRobot. Like, it's cliche, but like the robot was asking Will Smith, like, like he kept being like, that's not the right question. And then he was finally like, that, sir, that's the right question. So it's like, if you don't really know what to ask the AI, even if it's super intelligent, like, are you going to say, what do I ask what do I ask the AI? No, you have to have some type of direction, even if it's the smartest, super intelligent being, Because I would say ChatGPT and all this are smarter than all of us, like at this point. Like I'm saying cursor, right? I used to write thousands and thousands of lines of code and get stuck on a bug for like a month because I had to like Google it and go to GitHub forums and stuff like that, and did that for years and years and years. And now it's like you just ask ChatGPT and it magically knows. So yeah, you just have to, I think just continue your education and get strong at a single subject and be the best at that. And then use AI to amplify your ability, not think that AI is just going to magically make you rich, magically get you more followers. It's more like, what is my message on? Like your TikTok, I was looking at it before this meeting, and it's like you have clear messaging, you have clear value that you're providing. It's not just spitting out AI content. Even with Tad, it's like we could spit out thousands of posts a day now if we wanted to, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's getting the right message and psychology out for what our business is trying to do to bring in dollars.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what else. On the AI on the sales, would you say you focus more on the marketing side or sales or both?
My side is more marketing, but what I'm actually currently doing is I'm not doing any done for you services anymore. I'm more concentrating more on coaching and consulting.
Interesting.
So less implementation, but just consulting and coaching. I like it better. It pays better also. So
it's more custom to each scenario that comes through, basically.
Yeah, but then there's also limitations to that then, because there's only 24 hours in a day. So if you can do one-on-one coaching, you're limited by the amount of time there is. So that's when group coaching comes in, because you can service multiple people at once instead of just one.
How do you continue to educate yourself and become a better coach? Because if you just say, I know everything about AI and quit today,
I'm going to lose out. No, I'm in this daily. I love it. So for me, it's like a passion. Even though I'm here in Miami, the truth is, majority of my time is I'm actually working, learning stuff. Like I'm on Twitter all the time, seeing what other people are doing, because everyone is much smarter than me, and I'm just learning from them. So even when I'm self-taught, I don't have any degree or anything. When I started learning AI, how to use AI, I was just watching YouTube videos and searching on Google and going on Twitter, and then see what others are doing and just practicing that and playing around with it. And what I was doing, while I'm playing around with it, when I see something works, I'm actually making a video about it. Even if it doesn't work, I should still make a video about it, because it's good to show also the stuff that doesn't work as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you're
And
documenting your progress, basically.
and for me personally, I find that's the way I learn. When I teach, it makes it easier for me to learn. So while I'm teaching, I'm actually teaching myself as well. When I'm creating a video, because I have to do more research, then I have to do more stuff. And what I'm actually doing, I'm actually teaching myself as well at the same time.
Speaking of the, you're talking about the good and the bad. What do you think are the situations that people have to avoid in terms of frustrations that you've experienced with AI tools and learning AI, whether it's hallucinations or whether it's, outputs not matching what you expect? What are the biggest holes in AI tools and how people are using them these days?
The biggest holes, I think, is hallucination. And the biggest mistake I see people making is they just take what it gives you immediately and they want to run with that. Whereas AI doesn't have feelings as yet. May have in the future. But for now, you have to go back and forth with it. Don't just take the initial output. And I see most people that are, starting off with AI, they make that mistake. Whatever it gives them initially, they just take that and they want to run with it. And it might be rubbish, honestly, but that's where the judgment comes in. You need to figure out, okay, I need to go back and forth, tell it I don't like this or I don't like that, change it. And that's where you get it to become more custom and tailored for you and get the output that you want.
Yeah. I think reasoning, if you insert like reasoning steps in between your engagements with, say, ChatGPT, where it gives you an output, then you ask it why, and you really try to understand that why, that's when you start making progress. So not just taking it at face value. What about Tad? What have you noticed on terms of frustrations with AI? Because it's not all good 100% of the time. We all love AI here, but on a day-to-day, we also see that there's potential because it's not perfect. If we had that perfect AGI that just magically works, we wouldn't have these issues. But what are the pitfalls?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, I know Muhammad is a big preacher of this, prompting, right? And I think that's another like leveler of the AI playing field. People don't understand how powerful prompting is as far as how it's going to affect the results that you get. It's literally levels the playing field. What you say to the AI is having, when you go down the rabbit hole, almost just as much as an effect as the people who are making these AIs. So you have to be very, very intentional and make sure that you're giving lots and lots of context of exactly what you want in order to drive the results. And that's where the education piece comes in, because it's really a reflection of you at the end of the day, right? What you pipe through this is what's going to come back around on the other side. So yeah, I think prompting is ultimately what it comes down to. So being very intentional about what you're asking for from these systems, providing it with based information. I don't mean that in the in the San Francisco where the term based. I mean like very grounded and truthful information. Pretty much what the AI is doing is most of the time it's just predicting what's the most likely thing to say back to you based on what you're saying to it. And if you have a bunch of trash garbage or a bunch of, information that's inconsistent and all over the place, or you're leaving a lot of things out, unfortunately, the AI does have the tendency to just give you something back when it probably should. I don't know if this is probably a fault of the training, but it probably should more than it does. It should say, I don't know, which it seems like the AI doesn't have that capability built into it. But yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing that comes, I don't know if I'm directly answering the question, but I just think people are underestimating the power of prompting and how simple it is, right? I mean, this is English language. Everybody has this tool in their disposal if you can talk and put a sentence together. So string together your thoughts in a very cohesive way, and you can have better results with AI than, you can have just as good results from AI as the next person can, right? So
yeah. You might be best off like studying like English and philosophy or something like that
Yeah,
to
it was
like
like
have your
really
logic and like
Yeah, but can I share a simple prompt framework? I'll share with you two prompt methods that I use. One simple prompt framework that anybody can use, no matter their education level, is a simple 4-step prompt framework. Start off with the role. That is who you are. Example, you are a digital marketer, but give it a speciality as well, because digital marketing is broad. You are a digital marketer. You specialize in generating high converting landing page copy, for example. Then that's step one, the role. Step two, the task. What do you want it to do? So I want you to generate copy for me for my landing page example. Step three is the goal. What's the goal? Why do you want this done? What are you trying to achieve? So for example, I want to generate leads. So I started off, you are a digital marketer, you specialize in generating high converting landing page copy. I want you to generate landing page copy for my business, whatever it is. My goal is to generate more leads. And then the fourth one, which I think is the most critical one, is if you ask the AI to ask you any clarifying questions in order for us to get the best possible outcome, that last part, what is going to do, whatever you have missed in your prompt, and most likely you have missed lots of stuff. For example, I missed out. I didn't say who's my target audience. I didn't say what's my business name, or I didn't say what service I'm trying to promote. That last part is giving the AI the permission to come back to you and tell you to, or ask you those clarifying questions. And then you'll see the outcome will be much better. That's one method. Another method I'm using a lot now, especially for advanced reasoning models, is I'm getting the AI to write the prompt for me. So I'm going to Claude, for example, and I'm saying you are a prompt engineer or whatever. I want you to create a prompt for an advanced reasoning model specifically that does deep research and gives it my scenario. And then I get Claude to write out the prompt for me. And sometimes I'm getting 8 to 10 page prompts. The prompt is that long. Obviously, I read over it, make sure everything is correct, edit it, add in whatever I want. And then when I put that prompt into ChatGPT's deep research, for example, the output that I get is amazing. So I'm using the AI to actually generate the prompt first and then copying that prompt and then using that.
yeah, that's like meta prompting, I think they call it.
aping,
Definitely,
automated.
I didn't even know there was a
it's like
term
the
for that.
AI knows how to communicate with itself the best in a way. It's so weird. I've actually seen that where I have created my own prompt and then I just get ChatGPT to,
Make it
redo the
better.
prompt.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's not saying anything different, but the way that they format it and stuff like that really influences the output. Interestingly, something similar to this is like, I know, Tad, you use like function calling and stuff like that, API from OpenAI. And I saw some paper or article the other day that on Twitter that was talking about how JSON is difficult for models because then it has to think about how to close braces and brackets and all that stuff, right? So this one guy did this experiment where he did function calling with YAML, where it didn't have to worry about that, and it like improved outputs by a lot. So yeah, the prompting is a really interesting thing. In pre.dev, we deal with hundreds of prompts in our system because it's like a long pipeline. So it gets to the point of how do you even scale prompting when you have to reuse prompts and, multiple, you have hundreds of different prompts and you don't want to rewrite prompts too. So it starts looking like HTML or React in a way where you're combining different prompts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting field of prompting.
Prompt engineering.
Yeah. If you guys specifically in digital marketing, if you're looking at like the new generation of digital marketers, what do you feel like they should spend their time on and say in school? And what should they be focusing on? And maybe it's not 180 degrees different than what they were in the past, but what are these new skills that they have to pick up to add on to their, repertoire?
Well, number one, I would say 100%. Number one is prompt engineering. They have to learn that no matter what tool they're going to use, because it's going to help them with their output in generating whatever they want to generate, but also learning copywriting. You may think that the AI is great at copywriting, But why learning copywriting is going to assist you? Because as you know, I've said previously that you need good judgment. Now, how do you get good judgment if you are not knowledgeable about the subject? So if you have knowledge about copywriting, firstly, when you get good copy, you will be able to differentiate good from bad copy. But you need that knowledge, firstly, to be able to differentiate from what's good and what's not. And that's what's going to give you an advantage over the next person that's also using the exact same tool. They don't have the deep knowledge or understanding of copywriting. And I'm saying deep knowledge or understanding, you don't need to become a master at it, but need to understand the fundamentals of copywriting. And then also another thing is learning creative, how to be creative. For example, one of the tools that I didn't mention that I use all the time is called freepik.com, right? It's great because it puts all the models in one, like if you want to generate images, generate videos, etc. Although the tools are great, if you do not understand creative concepts and how to create a good image, you're still going to be limited by the tool, no matter how powerful it is, because you don't know how to explain properly what you want yourself. So, but if you had the knowledge of like creative concepts and what goes into a proper digital marketing campaign, like, for your graphics, whether it's imagery, whether it's videos, etc., that's going to help you. So what I'm saying is, say prompt engineering, I said first, copywriting, being creative, understanding creative concepts, etc. But what this is all telling us is that as great as AI is, it still needs a brain and a guide behind it to get the most out of it.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think the problem is that it's almost counterintuitive because if you look at kids these days in high school and stuff, they're using ChatGPT to cheat, right? So that's actually, it's both an enabler and a deterrent at the same time, depending on how you use it. So, it could, that same kid could ask deeper questions about the proofs of like his math and calc classes and algebra and pick up more, or it could just get it to do the homework and then now he doesn't have a good understanding of math and won't really benefit from having that brain behind the AI. But yeah, I mean, I think we're at like over an hour now, and both Tad and Muhammad have provided dimes of knowledge to everybody looking to explore the AI industry, and we at the artificial and
one last question I want to add in right before we go. I want
Likewise,
I'd like your
it's flowing.
Adam been dropping dimes too.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. One thing I would like to get your take on this, and I'll give you my take after that as well. What are your thoughts on people saying that AI is going to take away jobs? Because that seems to be a common question.
Depends on the job, I think. I think it's going to, if we're talking about like McDonald's, like, are we going to have cashiers at McDonald's? Probably not, right? Like that's going to get automated, stuff like that. Some of these jobs are going to get automated out, but at the same time, I think it'll create a lot more digital jobs. So those people that might have lost the job at McDonald's might be able to still get, if we're just talking, say, minimum wage category, might be able to find more opportunities and get matched to careers a lot more efficiently through AI solutions. And actually, you're looking at the labor force being much more productive. So it'll balance that loss of jobs out. That's the ideal scenario. The not so ideal scenario is that, AI gets so good, say, if we're looking at digital marketing, and everybody can generate as much content as they want. So it's like there's a huge amount of saturation, say. So becoming a digital marketer, unless you have super creativity in content writing, for instance, the average digital marketing job, is just ran by an AI agent that could do it a little bit better than your average person. So it's going to also, if it levels the playing field, leveling the playing field also means that you have to it's harder to find ways of differentiating. So yeah, it's really a tough thing to say, to guess where it's going to go. I would say though that I'm optimistic that it'll create more jobs in the future overall and more capital in the market, give people more opportunities, whether it's in South Africa or Egypt, to now engage in the economy, combine that maybe with blockchain and stuff. So then they're not limited by their own national currencies and stuff like that. So I like to think optimistically, and that's where it's going, you know?
If I can chime in, if I can interject my thoughts into this topic, I think the people who have initiative are the ones who are going to win. Is pretty much. So it's a level playing field. It comes down to your spirit and how willing you are to implement, as Muhammad was mentioning at the top. So it's really going to put a magnifying glass on actually who's actually working out here, because you have every tool that you've ever possibly needed to get a business off the ground. It's never been easier. Let's be honest about ours, right? It's never been easier to start a business than now, right? And you're still not being able to get stuff off the ground. So it just magnifies how lazy you are, pretty much. If you want to, that's another way of looking at it. Yeah, and I see some other people like the haves and the have-nots, right? It's really going to magnify who has capital versus who doesn't, and who has more initiative versus who doesn't. The people who have just even a little bit more initiative, they're going to start to pull ahead and even more. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just going to magnify who's actually at the front of the pack in whatever endeavor you're talking. And so I guess I'd just say, just look at yourself in the mirror. Really, it's just a magnifier. That's really at the end of the day what I see AI as. It's magnifying what is.
Yeah, that's true. Not everybody though is like the type of personality that could start a business too. So there are people that work jobs and that's the path for them, and they're not like fit to all the responsibility of starting your own business. But I think AI is definitely going to empower the gig economy and stuff like that for people that do want to start businesses. For those people that want to coast on a job, it might be good for them too, because they might not have to do as much work. So I don't know. Maybe it's good for everybody.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated.
What about Muhammad? What's your take on it?
Yeah, so the way I see it is like, say that there's 5 jobs that are currently being done by 5 different people, and none of them know how to use AI, right? You could get one person that knows how to use AI and then do all those 5 jobs. Now you might be thinking, okay, now that means 4 people have lost their jobs, essentially. But the truth is that business could grow now so much faster, so that in the long run, they're actually going to be hiring more. But then it also becomes the responsibility of those 4 people that lost their jobs, or those 5 people that lost their jobs, to upskill themselves and teach themselves some AI knowledge so that they can get back into the workforce and then play their part in the workforce, whether it's even if it's not their own business, but even being part of the workforce as their job. So it becomes their responsibility now to upskill themselves and learn AI. Because that's the truth. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, those that learn it and use it will be successful, and those that don't will be left behind.
Initiative.
I mean, people 20, 30 years, people forget that 20 years ago, people weren't using computers, like you go to a doctor's office and there wasn't EMRs or whatever. There was a bunch of file cabinets, and that wasn't that long ago. So all those people had to learn the computer. That was a big thing. Like my mom, grandma and stuff now are on WhatsApp and Instagram and stuff like that. But eventually they learned, So yeah. I think the same type of thing is probably going to happen with AI, where it's like, okay, now those people have to learn one extra skill than just browsing the web. And I think using Google is not too much different than using ChatGPT. So I think the transition should be pretty smooth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've had a really fruitful discussion. Thank you, Tad, for bringing this together, and it was a great for the second episode. I mean, we really explored a lot of topics in depth, and I think we're gonna get a lot of interesting perspectives out of people that hear this. So thank you guys, and this has been go ahead.
Yeah, before you give the closing remarks, the classic outro. Who's your hero? Question for you two. Who's your hero right now? You can either go just general hero, or a hero within the AI world, someone that you're like inspired by or aspiring to. And who should we get on the pod next? Right? Just to like push it to the next level, right? So that's my question for you, for each of you two guys.
Yeah, go ahead. capital?
At the moment, my hero is someone that I'm looking up to and learning from, honestly, um, is John Assaraf. Now, maybe I'm a bit biased because I've been to his mastermind. But what has also happened, I am also now working with his coaching his mastermind for the whole year, for the 12 months now. So now I'm going to be working with them for 12 months. But what it has showed me, because I'm getting first-hand knowledge of how they're running a multi-million-dollar business, uh, it's been eye-opening for me. And also I can see the potential of, so it's pushed me to another level of not just staying in my African mind, for example, and in my small mind, just think, okay, I'm only restricted to this. Seeing now what huge opportunities there are that's taking me, myself personally, to the next level. And I think we all need that. We all need to be pushed to the next level because we're continuously evolving. We're not going to be staying the same all the time. And it's our duty to be continuously evolving. So for that reason, that's why I'm looking up to him and I'm learning a lot from him along the way. So that's
Next guest,
great.
John Asaraf. John Asaraf. Next episode,
That
the
would
intelligence.
be great to have him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I would say, I don't know about hero, but let's say like from the content perspective and in tech, there's a guy named Harry Stebbings who does 20 VC, and he kind of inspired me even to do this podcast in the first place because he was like, look, he's not the best VC, but he's able to raise the biggest fund in Europe or something like that off of his content. And it shows you how, like as much as I just want to sit on Cursor all day and just build forever, that you have to put your face in front of the audience and give them, some perspective on what you're building in addition to the product itself. And if you can master content, similar to Muhammad, like on TikTok, that is amazing that he's been able to, create a movement off of just educating himself with AI. I think that is kind of a moat that a lot of Silicon Valley companies are ignoring because the vast majority of those founders don't want to get in front of the camera, and they do get stuck in these cycles of building. So I think Harry Stebbings, shouts out to him on 20 VC. I think he really motivated me to take pre.dev content to another level, and that's why we hired Tad in the first place, because he's using all these innovative approaches that kind of branch the gap between digital marketing and engineering and allow us to be a content house, a media house as a small teams. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say on that. What about you, Tad?
Yeah, man. Well, very flattering words. I definitely need to circle back with Muhammad. I will be following up. I know I'm taking a lot of your time, Muhammad. You're going to new levels and tiers of this AI game. But I will reach out to you for a follow up because now I'm honestly I'm inspired by Muhammad and some of the people in the sales and business world. I'm really trying to crack the code of how do I tie marketing and the creative side of my brain, which I come from a background. My dad's an artist. My mom was also in the creative field. It's like, we just like to create and we don't give a fuck after that. Excuse me, the curse. We don't care what happens after that. We got joy out of creating. We got joy out of creating. We got joy out of creating. It ends there for us. But from a business standpoint, there's more. You have to give revenue for the business you're providing content for. So I'm trying to crack that code, and lead gen, some of the paid sales techniques that Muhammad teaches at his masterclass. By the way, definitely don't sleep on Muhammad. His masterclasses are fantastic, and I highly recommend his coaching programs as well. You see, like stuff like that, you always got to give more value to other people, So I'm just finding like, what are the simple ways, what are the simple techniques to provide values for others, So, but trying to really crack that code. So I mean, from a standpoint of somebody, and on the like, I guess on the end, I mean, last night I was learning this technique from a guy called Stephen G. Pope. I mean, I'm learning from so many people. Honestly, I'll give a shout out to another guy, a 19-year-old kid he's currently living in Thailand. He's based in Austin, Texas. I know that a lot of the pre.dev team is in Austin. By the way, pre.dev is doing an in-person workshop May 14th in Austin, Texas. Many of the pre.dev partners and team members will be there. It's going to be an in-person event where everybody's going to have a chance to use pre.dev's product, and whoever comes up with the best, most creative idea will win prizes at the end of the evening, as I understand it. So definitely check out that event in Austin, Texas. But yeah, I'm kind of a little bit all over the place, but I'm going to give a shout out to, as far as my hero, I mean, someone that's inspiring me right now, a guy called Roberto Luna, 20-year-old kid. Not a kid. I mean, I'm just saying he's very young when I say he's a kid, but he's doing incredible things as far as the scale that he's leveraging agents on for automating like businesses end to end. It's pretty impressive. So check out Roberto Luna. That's who I would recommend. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, the listeners, they got some research to do after this pod. Well, I'm sad we got to go. I wish we could, keep chatting. We're definitely gonna have to have Muhammad back on the pod once we, solidify a few more episodes. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Miami, and we'll stay in close contact. Thank you, Tad, again for bringing this together. And this has been the Artificial Intelligence Podcast, brought to you by pre.dev. Have a great day, guys. Bye.